Godzilla tells the story of a present-day Earth and how they have to deal with the existence of a dinosaur that is Godzilla. And on the whole, I have to say that I definitely enjoyed the film, but at the same time, I have several issues with it. In that, you have father and son pair Joe and Ford. Joe is more so of a physicist trying to discover more about the various incidents occurring leading up to the Godzilla incident, and then you have Ford, who's more so of a military man, and the relationship that these two possess, simply because the fact that they are both haunted by their past in almost a similar yet asimilar kind of manner, and how they have to deal with certain incidents of their past is extremely interesting, and the effects of that are extremely well delved into, giving you a great insight into the characters you're following. And I think, especially for a disaster film, it's extremely essential to build your characters up well enough, because they could easily kill off thousands and millions of people, but really you wouldn't care if they didn't focus on the people that you're attached to, in this case Joe and Ford, which is something I found really interesting, although you do have certain conveniences where they are at the wrong place at the wrong time, but still, the emotional tethering towards what's happening on screen exists, thereby making this a more enjoyable and in fact more intense experience. And what I loved was that the film manages to actually strike fear in you, because it's portrayed in an extremely what I would describe as realistic manner, as if there were dinosaurs today, the incidents that would occur, the various reactions that would follow and actions that would be taken feel extremely natural in their occurrence. And of course, while I'm sure certain people will complain that the monster in the film is not visible for all that much time, personally I thought that was not such a bad thing, therefore not leading to an oversaturation of the quote-unquote main character, at least the titular character. But really, to me, I thought the handling of the scope and the scale was well done, except maybe towards the third act of the film. Because certainly by the time the third act comes around, from a visual effects perspective, is nothing but a spectacle, but really it feels like a bit of a rinse and repeat in what we've already seen in earlier portions of the film, thereby making it not as enjoyable or as surprising as I would describe. And while the film certainly does get bigger as it goes along, it doesn't do an awful lot with that increase in size. Rather, it presents the same things to you, just on a slightly larger scale. And I actually acknowledge the fact that the build-up that the film presents to you is absolutely fantastic, especially to the research that Ken Watanabe's character of Dr. Serizawa is undertaking. But really, that build-up sets up for something so magnificent that, in my personal opinion, the film didn't actually manage to live up to all that. While it does present to you what I believe is a mesmerizing spectacle of events, it doesn't feel like it's presenting anything different or anything extremely invigorating after a point. And I believe that here and there, and especially towards the third act, the film does have a lot of conveniences and I would describe as unnecessary moments, to say the least. And there are certain cataclysmic things that I believe that the film just brushed over almost for convenience sake, or to make it simpler to tell the story, rather than showing us what would have been as some of the most exciting moments of the film. It decides to merely let you know that those events have occurred, thereby making you feel at a bit of a loss while witnessing such an experience. And as I mentioned earlier, especially towards the third act of the film, I believe that the film lost a bit of focus, if you will. There are a couple of events that occur towards the end portion of this film, and the film decides to focus on the wrong aspect, in my personal opinion. It should have focused on certain other things rather than focusing on what I would describe as a human error, if you will. Still, though, the film does raise a few interesting questions when it definitely brings up the topics of nuclear warheads and the fact that they have to conceal these incidents and almost describe them as earthquakes and everything, and those are really haunting to me more than anything else. And furthermore, it addresses just how much we like to and have to and sort of need to intervene, and ultimately this kind of intervention will cause our own downfall in a certain way. Despite whatever issues I have with Godzilla, I still have to say that it is an enjoyable film to a certain extent. Of course, it really delves into your characters. It makes the event feel extremely realistic and thereby striking fear in you to no end. And really, from a technical standpoint, the film really does a great job and the performances are well acted. And all round, the film is a great effort, and an effort that I believe in the end culminates to a success. I'm going to give Godzilla a yes.